Yep.
Welcome to another episode of Two Ales and Hockey Tales with Wally. And today I am so excited to have on a 36-year-old from Russell, Ontario, a 7th and 9th round draft pick of the Columbus Blue Jackets. His hockey journey took him to Canada, USA, Wales, Scotland, France, and Germany. He is an OHL champion with the Peterborough Petes and a two-time Cocktail Hockey League champion. Not sure what the trophy's called. Challenge Cup winner. And I pretty much protected him my whole career from Daytona Beach, Ohio to the Cardiff Devils. Welcome to the podcast, Trevor Hendrikx.
Well, it's about goddamn time, isn't it, Wally?
It is about time, eh? Like, this is what, the third try here.
Third time's a charm, right?
Yeah, we're going to make this happen today. And today's episode is brought to you by Hendrikx Hockey. We're going to get into our sponsor a little bit later, but usually I discuss how we know each other. Trevor, or are you Hendo today? Which one are you going to be? Is it your microwave today or is it mine?
Microwave was yesterday. I'm in a good mood today.
Okay, perfect. Hendo it is. Okay. We were rookies together in the Columbus, Syracuse, Daytona Beach, Ohio organization. And I believe we would have gone to that NHL training camp together and probably practiced with the rookies, or did you get to play with the real players?
A little bit of both. I remember, I don't think I really knew of the Brent Walton at that point, but I wish I had, because that would have been a great training camp. But I think we kind of finally crossed paths in Dayton once we tripped on the system. But yeah, it was cool. I mean, I remember the first camp I went to, it was cool because they kind of mixed us in with the actual like NHL players. I remember guys like Rick Nash and Sergei Fedorov were there, and we had like a inter squad game, and this poor kid, I forget his name, but he made the fatal mistake of giving Rick Nash a little bit of a rub out on a one-on-one, and basically Nash just went on the boards, totaled his whole knee, missed the whole season. And that poor kid was on a quick flight back to Alberta right after that. So
I'd understand that.
Yeah.
But we did play quite a bit in Daytona Beach. Do you want to get into that season now? Because that's basically, we played there my whole rookie year. I got to go to a NHL training camp, but only for 48 hours, practice with the newest draft picks, and I was AHL signing, and then they asked me to kindly leave. So mainly I didn't get many experiences other than like I saw Rick Nash walk by me once, but I never actually got to skate with him. But Daytona Beach, we almost won it, eh, Hendo?
I mean, I don't know if we can just really just blanket it as just talk about Daytona. I mean, there were so many.
I got a few things here.
Why don't you pick a topic?
You know what? We can get deep dive into Daytona Beach when I have some more stuff written down about it. But it was quite the time in the Nutter Center there, all the way to the finals. But then about a decade later, we lose touch. We go our separate ways after my 1 year, and I am off to Germany, and you keep on doing your entry level with Columbus, and then you slum it around the minors we'll get into. But a decade later, we both signed for the Cardiff Devils. And do you remember, I'm going to tell a story because we hadn't seen each other in 10 years. And I have Lisa, she's pregnant. Colby is a toddler. We got about 4 hockey bags full of things, a bunch of suitcases, and you walked up with a duffel bag, and you said, we haven't seen each other in a decade now since we almost win the coast, and you just walk up to me and say, oh, hey, Wally, you're in one.
That's a good story. It's so, it just kind of speaks about our relationship, really, doesn't it? I mean,
well, Lisa didn't know you then, and she's like, who is that guy, and why did he just say you're in one? And I was like, well, a lot of baggage here, honey, it looks like.
He knew me back in the Daytona Bomber days, so yeah, that was, I mean, that honestly, like, I know, like, when we first signed here, like, Lordo kind of made like an email string or whatever it was, and I didn't really know who had signed here, and I just kind of started looking through the names, and I saw like like Brent Walton 10 at hotmail.com or something. I was like, hold on a second, Brent Walton, like that degenerate I played hockey with my first year pro.
Oh, easy.
And I was so excited to actually see you, but it's funny what actually came out of my mouth the first time I saw you, but I think it's pretty fitting.
Yeah, well, you were still just bringing a duffel bag, man. Different life in the our lives. I guess yours we're gonna get into, but like mine, I got married and had a kid and one on the way, and I had a lot more suitcases than you at that point. But I guess you headed over there. We're not too aware in what are you doing now, but we'll just bring it up now. Is you headed over there with that one duffel bag, and so now if like where are you now and what's going on? Like what happened with that duffel bag there, Trevor?
Duffel bags multiplied into a bunch of different bags, and I don't think I could travel with a duffel bag anymore. That duffel bag.
I guess you took a duffel bag to move over there for life, and I brought all that stuff just for a little bit.
Yeah, my duffel bag turned into a wife and a young little boy who's almost 2 years old. So crazy how things kind of turn out, and it's a good thing to pack light, I guess, because you always have room for this stuff. But yeah, it's. I mean, I never thought when I came over here that that's where I'd be. That's what I'd be doing. But here we are, and I couldn't be happier. And things kind of happen for a reason, and I think I'm here.
Have you ever thought like that your kid's gonna speak with an English accent or a Welsh accent? Have you ever thought about that?
I have, and I'm very curious as to what's going to happen, because I don't think he's just going to come out speaking with one of them. I think it's going to be like very confusing, because I'm going to speak the way I speak, and Laura's going to speak the way she speaks. So I think he'll be a bit of a hybrid, really.
I guess I don't think there'll be as much of you if he's around Wales all the time. I think Hunter is gonna have a Welsh accent. And anyways, moving on. Another reason why, I guess, so we didn't see each other for a decade and we lost touch, but I feel like we really bonded in Cardiff because I was your alarm clock for quite a few days. I was your alarm clock. Well, Colby was. Sorry, Colby was, not me. I wasn't your alarm clock. Colby was.
Yeah, well, I didn't really have a choice, did I? I mean, I'd get a nice 6 a.m. wake up every Monday morning. Usually consisted of Colby giving me a people's elbow onto my bed, and I basically had to wake up or just receive multiple people's elbows. And I would always hear a stupid little laugh in the corner, just watching like a evil little elf. And I mean, I'm sure it was funny for you, and now that I'm a father, I can appreciate it. But at the time, I pretty much hated your guts for that. But
so folks, every night that the whole team would go out and I had young kids, I never really did or got to, I was busy. I would be so upset I never got to go out with everybody, or I missed the end of the night more or less. I would get to have some fun, but then I'd be home earlier so I could be up earlier due to children. But when they would go out, I'd want to know what happened so bad with everybody, and any funny stories is that they'd leave their door unlocked and they lived close by, so I would just head on in there with the stroller. Colby would hop out and I'd say, go spank him in the butt, or like go jump on him, and you would get so angry. Jeez. But
I think most people would if they were hungover and being woken up at 6 a.m. by a young child who's giving him elbow drops every 2 seconds. But I mean, maybe that's just me. I don't know.
I don't know. I guess your early is different than my early, folks. Like, we're not talking 6, 7 a.m. like the real world, folks. We're talking showing up at 9 a.m. and he was still sour. But moving on.
Now, as a father, I can appreciate different times. I'm up at about 5 o'clock every morning now. So.
Oh man, it was fun though. Like, it really was. I'd also go to Herb the Pervs and Cully's and jump on or I wouldn't jump on them, but Colby would make sure they were up and see what had happened. But moving on. You've also done some frog catching with the kids. Do you remember that story?
probably harder to forget that story than anything. That was one of the funniest things like I've ever witnessed in my life. I remember well, my wife and I came over to Canada for a few months, and we drove up to see you in Kincardine, right?
Yeah.
And I remember like you're not very far from the beach, right? You're like 5 minutes on your golf cart, whatever. So I remember going there, and then like we were on the beach, and there was just that little like I don't know, like
Little gully. Yeah, a little water runoff from the farmland. Yeah, yeah.
And I know that Colby was like because when we were in Cardiff, Colby was like really into like going on like little hunts for like spiders and stuff. But like I didn't really know Zoe very well because like she was still very young. And I remember like seeing that little gully, that little ravine, and Colby just went straight to it. And I was like, all right, let's get some frogs. And then
it wasn't his first rodeo.
no, it was definitely not his first rodeo. And then I was still kind of like getting to know Zoe because like I hadn't even heard her talk until like I came up. She was a few years older, and she just got right in there, and I couldn't believe it. And she was just like strangling these frogs. Like I felt bad for these frogs. She was like death gripping them, and we collected them all and put them in like a pail. And then I think the pail, did it flip over, or did we?
Oh, they started getting out. They started jumping out of whatever we had them in, and then it turned into like frog races, and the kids are running around screaming. It was nuts.
I think we were like actually crying, laughing so hard. Like the kids were squealing, and we were just going absolutely mental.
Oh man, that was a fun day. Yeah, frog catching in Kincardine is a good time. So we're going to get into today's sponsor right now. Before we get into the last part of how we know each other is let's go through what our sponsor is today. Trevor, you're going to break down Hendrikx Hockey, who was kind enough to run a Zoom practice for Colby's team, which was awesome. And you're a real pro at this stuff. I've seen you on like NHL.com, on whatever it is, Twitter and stuff. And you're getting pretty out there, huh?
Yeah, well, it's it's been really crazy how it's kind of come about. I mean, when I finished playing hockey, I always kind of thought I wanted to do something like that and kind of give back to the kids. And I just said, well, I'll just give it a try. And I put out some flyers, did a camp back home in Canada. It went really well, and I just kind of reinvented myself, and I really really loved it. So when I moved over here, I just did the same thing. So it's been really really awesome over here because to be able to help the kids kind of get to the level they want to be at is really very rewarding, and it's something that I really pride myself in, and it's a fun job, it's a great job, it's a very rewarding job, and I like to think I'm helping these kids kind of accomplish their dreams, really. So it's good, and it's going really well. But yeah, we've done with the current COVID stuff. It's been tricky to do hockey camps and stuff. So we've done some stuff online, and been as creative as we can. At one point I did the Zoom course, and I had kids from 5 different countries taking part, which at the time it was just kind of like, oh, this is great, but looking back, like that's a really cool memory to have a kid from the United States, a kid from Canada, a kid from Scotland, a kid from Ireland, a kid from England, a kid from Wales. Like that's really cool to be able to coach all those kids in one session. So I think in a few years we'll probably really appreciate it a bit more, but we made the best of the situation. But yeah, kind of looking forward to getting back to a much more normal.
What are you playing with your hands? You getting all handsy? What is that? Yep, stop it. Stop that right now. Put it away. Stop playing with your dinghy, Trevor. We can hear you. We can hear you.
I've been trying to open this to put on the tables because my son is an absolute lunatic, and he's trying to run around the place, and he doesn't really care about sharp corners. So I'm trying to open this up so I can put it on the corners. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, we can hear you, Trevor, and he's probably running around just hip checking people. Okay, well, Hendrikx Hockey is really cool, and how professional you were running that practice with the team. I could tell it wasn't your first time. It was incredible, and I'm not sure if you're still doing the Zooms all over the place, or if I saw your camps are back open over there. So I did want to mention before I get into what happens at your camps is I wanted to know about the new thing you put in the Viola Arena, the Cardiff Devils Arena.
Mm. Well, I think it's actually a different name now. I don't think the Viola company is still around. So I think it's reverted back to Ice Arena Wales.
Oh,
But yeah, there was two kind of studio rooms at the rink that hadn't really been used. So I thought I could make some purpose out of them and basically built a gym in the one and a synthetic kind of shooting area, skating pad on the other. And it was kind of a nice little project to have during the lockdown because it gave me something to do.
hey, now you're playing the drums.
Playing the drums.
You're tapping your fingers.
Oh my goodness.
You're getting all handsy on me. Would you stop it? Put them away.
I just sit here like this then.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how Laura does it. You must be so handsy. No, the way I saw the pictures and what you've done in that arena, and it looks state of the art. I saw the gym beside it. Like that looks incredible for like, aren't the Devils even going to train there too?
Yeah, so it's the Devils. It's going to be a great thing for them because now they have their own training facility at the rink, which as a player is such a great thing. Like I think from when you played there, like it's nice to have a gym, but when you have to actually leave the rink and drive there, it's as silly as it sounds, it's a bit of an inconvenience. So having it right there is amazing. And
it would be really nice to just finish practice and go up, work out, and be done instead of drive across the city. Yeah, I get that. I remember those days.
It's gonna be really cool. I think the Devils really like it, and to be able to provide a facility like that for the kids here is going to be amazing because you'd only see something like that in Canada. So to be able to bring that here is going to be great, and it's just I'm just so excited to open it, but I can't because of the restrictions. So hopefully soon we can get it open and get some kids in there and get them training again. So
yeah, for sure. And I've even ran one of your practices with you when I came over to Cardiff there. I guess it's like almost 2 years ago now. And it was a good practice. You had me sweating.
You definitely graced them with some one-handed push-ups. I think that's why you were sweating.
Oh, did I try and do a one-handed push-up for them, for the boys?
I don't think you tried. I think you made a bet and you lost, and then you came in hot with one-handed push-ups.
Oh, that was the kid that came to the game the next night and we saw him, right? Yeah, he was a nice guy, nice kid.
You actually did. You did bang out 10. I don't know if
one-handed push-ups. I did.
Yeah, I don't know if I would.
Shut up.
You did. They were a bit sketchy, but I kind of gave you the 10 just to give you the.
Wow, form wasn't really my thing, but that's great. That was a good practice though, and I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of what you're doing in Cardiff. I think the kids that all grew up watching like our team play, which was crazy to think that people remembered me when I went back. I thought everybody would have forgot, but that fan base is so loyal and they love the Devils so much that like people actually remembered me. And the kids remembered me, and what you've done is basically you met them like 7 years ago when we first played, right? And now you're seeing what some of them are becoming, right?
I mean, that's kind of my favorite part of it is that like, these kids I'm coaching now, their parents will show me a picture of them and me when 4 or 5 years ago when I was playing here, and like for the kids, it's such a cool thing to have me coaching them, and it's equally as cool for me to be coaching kids that I met when I was here, and I think that they really get a lot out of it, and it's such a cool experience to be able to do that, and seeing the kids and the excitement, and even now they get my camp, so I'll have a few of the Devils out there on the ice, and like that's such a cool thing to have. Like I always try to make my camps as I would like them to be if I was a kid, and to have your heroes on the ice, whether they're from the past or present, I think is a super cool thing. And if I think back to when I was a kid, if I had my heroes on the ice, I mean that would be absolutely amazing. So
yeah, cool. It is weird to think like, yeah, guys like us that are going over to the UK league to think we're like kids heroes, right? But I guess yeah, like that is their NHL over there, right? And they see us play. And but anyways, Yeah, good job getting that going. And the only other thing, while we got our sponsor on here and we're discussing the business, is I just want to bring up like what could happen at camp. So say you're in, what was it, Scotland or anywhere, and like the game's tied at the end of the game. What would happen?
I see where this is going.
I hope so. I have the video on my phone.
I know. So obviously, doing camps in different locations, you're exposed to lots of different things. And um, I did a camp in Scotland, and this just was such a funny and awesome thing that happened. And the, the kids that I had there they're such awesome kids. And
I think we could get it going in Bruce County. Like, you know where I live. I really think that if the kids thought it was funny like those kids did, like this could become a thing. Like, it was the best video I've seen. So go ahead.
yeah, and so I forget what game we were playing. We were playing some sort of game, and it was one against one. And these two kids, they just they tied, and they couldn't. Well, they could figure out how to decide who won, and
I believe it's
it,
called overtime.
yeah, they weren't sure if they could do their version of overtime. So they asked me. They said, "Trevor, is it okay if we do a moo-off?" And I said, "Did you say a moo-off? Like moo as in a cow?" And he said he said, "Yeah, a moo-off." And I said, "Well, what the hell's a moo-off?" And like I'm not laughing yet because I don't really know. I'm kind of laughing in my head, but they said a moo-off, and the kid says, "Well, it's when me and my partner we get down on all fours and we pretend we're cows and we
I can't put the headset on. You can just go, man. I'm taking the headset off.
I'm trying. So basically, they get on.
Sorry. I'm getting you off track.
Yeah. So they get there, they're down on all fours, they're looking at each other, and it's a moo off. So basically, one of them moos, moos, moos like a cow, as loud as possible, and the other one just sits there. Uh, so basically, the goal of the moo off is for the first person to laugh.
Guess what, folks? It would be really hard to win because when you get some of those kids mooing at you, I saw they had some tricks too. They were pretty good.
So I can tell it now. I'm just not going to look at you because looking at you makes you laugh. So
Sorry. Go ahead. I was just laughing when you started telling the story of like literally. I'm sitting. I was yeah. I might have been like it's perhaps on the toilet, and I get a text from you, and it was like you should have seen what happened at my last camp in Scotland, and you sent me the video and said this is called the Moo-off. And the two kids, you sent me a couple videos, I think, but there was one where the one kid went at the other kid and he was stone faced, like you couldn't phase him. And then he came back with the most ridiculous move I had ever seen. And the other kid cracked. And I thought, what a game.
So like I can actually explain the game now because I'm not laughing.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I caught you off guard with that question. Sorry.
The game is these two players face off, face to face, on all fours, hands and knees on the ground. One player starts, moos like a cow as loud as possible, and the whole goal of the game is to make your partner laugh. And I like to think that they made it up on the spot, but they didn't because they had played it before. I could tell because there was some of them that were stone faced, and
They were talented.
had a giant moo, and the kid didn't even blink. And then he fired back with one of the loudest moos. Not that I've heard a lot of moos, but it was one of the loudest moos I've ever heard in my life. And they went back and forth probably 3 or 4 times, constantly bringing it up a notch. And I literally never laughed so hard in my life. And I actually went to the parents and I said, do you know what this is? Like, is this an actual thing? And they said, I've never seen it before in my life. So I don't know if they just concocted it or what, but it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen for
Oh
a tiebreaker. And it was, I mean,
man. Geez, that was a good laugh. I needed that today. I needed that. That was awesome. And I'm allowed to put that like on my stories, right, on Instagram. Because if anybody doesn't follow Two Ales and Hockey Tales on Instagram, that is where the action happens, folks, because that's what I got time for. I don't got time for anything else. So if you want to actually see what's going to be going on the pod, that's where you go. But can I post the video of them mooing? Just
uh,
like on the story, it'll only be a day and it'll be gone. Or am I not allowed to do that? I can't do that, eh?
I don't think that's a good idea.
Oh man, I guess you're right. All right, moving on. The other reason how we know each other is um you were Spider-Man and I was Venom, right?
Yes, we were. And I mean, which
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 one
part?
do you want to do first? I think so I can tell the story of the first tale we'll go through here is
Yeah, you
I
start
actually
the second.
the episode before you, Todd Kelman and I had a dual birthday party for our sons, Tato and Colby, and it was a superhero party. And literally, this is how much fun this whole team is, folks. Everybody dressed up, the wives, the husband, or the players, the other kids, like there weren't any other kids actually that year. So everybody dressed up, like everybody was in superhero outfits. And I have a picture of it. It was incredible. And everybody did that for us. Hendo ordered a Spider-Man outfit online that did not show up in time, and he was devastated. He wanted to do that for Colby. He wanted to be Spider-Man, and that's how close that team was. That's how great a guys it was. Like when I explain having a 2-3-year-old's birthday party, what it became at a bowling alley was just ridiculous, and that is just a bizarre life that we used to live. But your Spider-Man outfit didn't come, so you said, well, why did I order this? We got to use it. So I said, well, why don't because Colby dressed as Hulk every day. He was Hulk. He wasn't the Colpster. He was the Hulkster. And he would walk around Cardiff Bay in his Hulk outfit every day. But I said, well, if you want to use it, why don't we? And what what did we do?
Well, I mean, pretty normal thing to do, really. Just throw on a skin tight morph suit and Spider-Man and Venom and just walk through the bay, right? I mean,
Yeah,
talk,
with your son dressed as Hulk and your daughter in the stroller. Yep.
for me, the funniest part was, Colby was young and he was dressed in his Hulk costume and he was leading the charge. He was first one in line. And I genuinely think that he thought he was with Spider-Man and Venom. Like he was just swinging his arms like Conor McGregor walking through the bay. And
He roared at a few like groups of people and like jumped from benches and like thought he Hulk smashed the ground.
yeah,
And he actually thought he was Hulk that day, and like we were the Avengers.
yeah, I mean, I definitely felt like an Avenger. I don't know about you, but I really felt the Spider-Man vibe.
We literally we walked folks from my apartment, which was near Cardiff Bay, on a Saturday. It was a busy day. It was packed down there, and it was cold, folks. It was a cold day in those outfits. I remember Hendo complaining.
Are you
Um,
now? You're saying it's really cold, so you're not embarrassed?
I'm not embarrassed. I am who I am. I'm not for everyone. Um, no, but we walked through the bay dressed like that with Colby, and he was Hulk, and we were Spider-Man and Venom, but we were actually just walking through with some Starbucks cups. And we did a tour. We took some photos, but like we didn't just take the 2 photos like the one I'll post, but like we took photos with more than just ourselves, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of creepy how like much of celebrities we were. Really, like people were just. It was like a Saturday, wasn't it? Like a Saturday
It
morning.
was packed, and we took photos with tons of tourists, people, everybody.
Yeah, I felt like I was like Disney on Ice or something.
It was incredible. Like yeah, no, but I guess you know what? Since that day, I actually have not seen Hulk, Spider-Man, and Venom walk by since.
Yeah, it's a good thing we got a picture, right?
Well, you know what, Hendo, and this is why you were one of the first people I wanted on, and why I've tried so hard. How why you were one of my first picks is because we've been through all this together, and for you to do that for my son, I know Hunter is in good hands as you being a dad because you're gonna have fun with him because you do that for my son when we were just teammates. So I'm sure he's having a hoot. So thank you very much because that's memory I'll never forget. Cruising the bay with you, dressed like that for my 3-year-old, and my daughter didn't quite know what was going on yet, but like it was ridiculous and it was ridiculously awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's a memory I'll keep with myself forever as well. Like that was just, I mean, you just can't like
Who else does that?
does that. Like who actually does that? Nobody. Like nobody ever does that. Like it's ridiculous. Like
And you know what? I actually lied to somebody that day. I did. I lied to somebody that day. I lied to Andrew Lord. I did. Um, we had a few drinks that day to do that. You said, I got to have a couple to do this. This is absurd. And I said, well, I just think it's great. I'm pretty sure you were too big for the outfit, so the zipper didn't zip up in the back, and you were frozen because your full back was out. You're really showing some skin for the folks. But we did have some drinks to stay warm on the walk. And then that night, I guess my routine would be for the boys, because I wasn't allowed on road trips because they'd have to pay for me and my meals, was I would Lisa would video me in our living room and I would do a dance for the boys, like I would in the locker room. But just because I wasn't there with them, I would still do it. And Lisa would have to video. They're some of the most ridiculous dances ever performed, but Lisa was a good sport and did video them. But then that night we walked through the bay. They did win that game when you were a healthy scratch or you were out. And we posted our video to the team chat, right?
oh my God. Well, that was the thing. Like, yeah,
I could talk you into anything.
no, well, kind of, but not really. But yeah, it was funny because like that was your thing, Wally. Like you know you weren't playing, and like at that point I was playing every game, so we had our group chat, and after every win, we get this ridiculous video of Wally doing some sort of Taylor Swift dance or whatever your crazy brain created, and it was funny. Like I generally looked forward to it after every game. And it was funny because like I think some guys would acknowledge it, some guys wouldn't. Like we'd all watch it, but you know how people are in group chats, they don't really say much, right? So that day it was funny because I was actually on the other side of the coin. So we I put in a bit of effort, really. Like I did some moves, had my Spider-Man outfit on, we had a good song going, and like it was I think it was probably the best video that we put on there. And then we put it on, like I felt a bit like disappointed because I didn't get much reaction from the boys, and like I kind of had a new respect for Wally. Like when you do something like that, you want to get a bit of recognition for it, and like it kind of like flipped the coin for me for a bit. But it was, I mean, I think you probably will post a video, Wally, I'm sure. But
Well, I did put it on the story there earlier, and it people saw it, like it was just ridiculous. And that was our first take, folks. That was the first time we tried it. We put on the song and we just went with it. And so after that video comes out to the team chat, I don't know if Lordo was allowed on the team chat. I doubt it. But he wrote to me and said, I know you were hanging out with Hendo today, and you guys had a game on the Sunday, and you had been a healthy scratch and you're really disappointed and upset about it. And we had a few drinks to burn off, just because like you're pissed off. And then, so you're a kind sport and we have a fun day while the team's gone. Then we do that dance. We'd only had a couple drinks or a handful maybe. And Lordo writes to me and says, I want to put Hendo in the lineup tomorrow. I know you probably hung out with him. Did he drink today? I lied.
Mm,
Sorry, Lord, I'm telling you now, I don't like lies.
yeah.
But you got to play the next day and you played great, and I felt great about myself. So yeah, thanks for playing good the next day.
Well, that's what I do, man. Play good.
You're a real pro. You're the old school pro. I know you know about the Vicks on the neck, and I know Lordo knew all your tricks too when we were there. That's what was hilarious about it.
You're making me out to be an alcoholic now, Wally. I'm fine.
Oh no, I'm talking you were old school though, but that was before kids and families, you know?
No, no, got a job to do, right?
Yeah, no, it was all good, man. It was fun though. Like we always came to practice and worked hard, like we did. And but like that day we didn't have a lot of drinks. We only had a few, and that you were just a good sport to do that with me was incredible. No, I thought it was funny that he was like, "Did he have anything to drink?" And I was like, "No." And we had like 3 to 4 drinks. I was like that's not going to affect him tomorrow. Like he's fine. He's a big boy. Okay.
Old school. Old school.
So I guess we got into where and what are you doing now? You got kids. Yeah, I had written down Moo-offs in the camps. So I guess let's get into your career then, and I'll stop talking so much. Okay. Was there any other Venom and Spider-Man? I guess the only other one was on the ski trip with pigs when you cut off the face off yours and your beard was hanging out of the Spider-Man outfit and you were skiing down the mountains like that.
I remember I did one. I don't know how that even started, but I had it in my backpack, and I remember like I put it on, and it was cold. Even though it was like April, it was cold. And, like bombing down the hill in one of those things, it's okay for the first 5 minutes, but 20 minutes later you're freezing, and then you have to get back on the lift. And I remember getting back on the lift, and like I was freezing. I had to piss, and I couldn't like. There's no like opening on the morph suit, so I had to like rip a hole and rip a hole and do it. And that was pretty much the death of my morph suit, because once I ripped a hole, that was it. But yeah, like I mean, like I had mine, you had yours. Pigsy, what was Pigsy's? It was like a weird like bow tie. Like
Yeah, it wasn't like a superhero. It was a weird one. I don't know what that was about.
I just think about like people that were actually there on like a family holiday or something, and they saw Spider-Man, Venom, and whatever Pigsy was just bombing down the hill, and then like
Well, we never skied.
I know, well,
We were at the top of the mountain though, but you were skiing like that. You actually skied down the mountains like that. Some of the pictures were incredible. Oh god.
very aerodynamic.
Okay. Let's get into your career now. So minor hockey in Russell, Ontario to the Peterborough Petes. Go for it.
Oh, okay.
Don't get handsy though.
I just gave a little tap, just an intro tap, Yeah, so I grew up in a very small town called Russell. It's about 20 minutes outside of Ottawa. Wasn't really very good at hockey when I was younger. When I was about 4, my parents kind of gave me a pair of skates and kicked me out the door. And we lived on a farm, so we had like lots of ice everywhere. So I would just skate, and yeah, eventually I got kind of decent at hockey, and played up a few years. And
How big's Russell?
uh, at that point, it was probably like maybe 5,000 people at the most. But Russell's actually one of the top 5 places in Canada to live now. So they're climbing the ladder really quick. It's booming.
Is
So
that
now there's
right?
probably, yeah, I don't know how many people live there now because I haven't been back in a while, but I would say quite a few actually. They're building a new
Now what
triplex.
are you getting handsy with?
I'm pulling the table in closer.
My goodness, put them away. Put the hands away. Put them in your pockets.
Hands are just so sick that I just can't stop moving them, Wally.
Well, that's why I had to protect you for so many years. Well, that's okay. So how do you go from that to the Peterborough Petes? Like how do you go from a little town like that to getting drafted then? Sorry for cutting you off.
Yeah, well, I'm used to it.
Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know, just I don't know. I played up a few years, when I when it was my draft year to the OHL, I actually played up to junior A. Should have been playing major bantam, but I played junior A that year, and that was very unheard of at that time. I think I was the first or second player to do that year ever. So that was a big deal. So there was a lot of attention from OHL teams and stuff. But I had a tough year. I broke my hand twice, same spot twice. So I only played like 25 games. So I should have probably been picked a lot higher had I played a full season. But I was still very lucky to get picked in the second round to Peterborough Petes. And back then it was your first two picks are the only ones that can play. So your first and second round pick are the only ones that can play on your team that year. So I went there, and looking back, I mean, I don't know if I was ready for it because I didn't play very many games the year before. So my first year, I probably was a healthy scratch for probably 20 games at least, maybe 30. Don't even really remember, but my second year came, and I kind of thought, well, I want to play a bit more. And the coach I had at the time was an ex kind of NHL tough guy, and up to this point, I'd never really fought before. I was more of an offensive type defenseman, and I just wanted to play. And I figured out really quickly that if you fought, my coach would kind of promote you to the first line, or you'd play a lot more. So based on that, I just picked the biggest guy and got into a fight with him just to play, and did that, and turned out I was pretty good at it. So I kind of did that repeatedly, and just to get ice time. And after a while, I got really good at it, and actually got drafted to Columbus. And that was, I mean, one of the reasons, not all the reasons, but one of the reasons was that.
Well, I saw you had like a point a game as a defenseman in the OHL. So you were also fighting that much and getting a point a game?
Yeah, so I think one of my best seasons, I think I had like 25 fights and maybe 60 points.
That's a busy year.
It's a very busy year and tough on the hands, but yeah, it was kind of a tricky thing because when I was drafted, they wanted me to be a fighter, and I went to their NHL camp, and they pretty much told me that if you fight everybody, you'll probably have a spot on our team in a year or two. And as
So
a
they
kid,
weren't drafting you for the 60 points.
no, the 60 points came after. So they kind of picked me for the fighting, and they said, if you do this, you'll probably have a spot here. So I'm pretty sure any kid that was told that would do the exact same thing I did. So I went back and I fought everybody that looked at me. I think I had like 30 fights that year. And then I went back to camp, and they said, all right, well, we know you can fight. We want to see that you can play this year. So we don't care about fighting this year. We want to see you put up some points. So I went back and I put up 60 points, thinking like, oh, well, that's what you want. That's what I did. So, and 60 points for a D-man is
A lot.
pretty good, especially that year. And we actually won the whole OHL that year, went to the Mem Cup.
And you're getting 60 something points. And
Yeah.
Huh. So
It was,
what year was that they drafted you? Because you were drafted by the same team twice.
well, that's the thing, is that when they first picked me, that was I think at that time they had 9 rounds, so I was picked in the 9th round. And then when they pick you, they have 2 years to sign you to a contract, and if not, you're put back in the draft. So I had those years, and they offered me a contract, and like I said, I was a kid from a small town called Russell. Like I didn't know anybody that had been offered an NHL contract. My parents didn't know anybody. Like we had no idea. So I had this agent at the time, and I thought, well, I have him. I might as well listen to him because he knows what he's doing. And he said, like, well, you shouldn't sign this. Like, you're going to go back to Peterborough next year. You're going to have a good year, and you'll be able to go wherever you want. So I took his word for it. And the only catch with that was, to be a free agent, I had to go back into the draft and basically get passed over by everybody. And if nobody picked me, I was a free agent. So that was kind of the hope. But then with the very last pick, Columbus picked me again. and it was kind of just a pick to just kind of keep me in their system again for 2 years, which was frustrating because they didn't really have much plan for me, but they didn't want me to go anywhere else, kind of a thing. So
That's brutal. Like for me, I don't know why my agent would have ever said for me to actually go there, because it was the same thing. They didn't want me. They had guaranteed me a contract, but I had gotten offered the same contract from a different team. So why don't you say to the agent, like, we really don't want him? If someone else will take him, like, go for it. And instead, my agent tells me to go back there. So you're kind of in a similar boat by the end, eh?
well, yeah, I was. I
Not
mean,
as bad as me though, that's for sure. Like they hated me when I got there.
I don't know if I'd say that because I actually signed a contract with them, and my contract was for 3 years, and they just told me flat out that you're not going to play in the American League. You're going to play in the East Coast League, and that's just kind of how it is.
And they
And
drafted you. They burned a pick on you to say that to you.
yeah, and I said, okay, well, I went there, and I thought, well, if I work hard, I'll get up, and eventually I did, but it got to a point where there was just so many people ahead of me that were making more money than me. So I just said to them, I said, I don't care. I don't care about the contract. I don't care about the money. I'll give it all back to you. I just want to play and be given a chance. So they said, sure, that's fine. We'll open up the doors. If anybody wants you, they can have you. And then I think Boston sent them a request, a trade request, and they shut it down. They said, no, no, we're not trading him. So I don't know why that happened. I'd love to talk to them about it now that I'm done, but yeah, it's done.
Yeah, especially when you seem like exactly like a Bruin type player, because like those days in the big blue tent, that was very much like they like a team to be, which okay, that's interesting. But yeah, no, they strange organization back then. I wasn't there long. It was only 1 year, but yeah, no, like I saw you had 2 more years with them, and like we were both rookies together, and I was glad I got out after that year, but you had 2 more years, right? So I did see, or no, we got to get it. No, so scoring and fighting I have down. Now is our rookie year in Daytona Beach. We can't just talk about all that stuff and not talk about Daytona Beach. We may have to skip a lot of your career this time, but we can do this again if we could ever hook it up again. So literally Daytona Beach. Here's some notes I got down. Do you want to pick which way you go?
Yep.
Okay. I got Clancy, Toledo Storm's old arena in the first game, Paul Kelly, Tommy Gunn. You pick.
I'll go in order. I'll start with Clancy.
Okay.
Second one was first game in Toledo. That's a perfect segue after Clancy.
Yeah.
So Derek Clancy, he was a different person. He was such a good coach. He was such a good coach with details and positioning and systems. And he took our bunch of degenerate Daytona Bomber team and took us to the finals of the league. And we had no business being there without him or the system we played. And, maybe some of us didn't like him, maybe some of us did, but he kind of taught us all a lot on how to play hockey, how to play defense, how to win. And, a lot of things that he taught me, I still kind of keep with me to this day. He was a very smart hockey mind, very good guy. But yeah, I remember like coming down from Columbus, and the first day we were there, we had a meeting, and I think he just singled me out and said, it's not gonna be the fucking same as Columbus. And, just kind of put me in my place. And I was like, okay, well, nice to meet you too, kind of thing. But he was doing it for my own good, and he was a good guy. He taught us a lot of stuff. And I really got to know Clance, our first game in, this is kind of your second point, our first game in
Toledo,
and Toledo was an absolute specimen of a rink. Like, I'm pretty sure that's where COVID started. Like, there was literally, like, I don't even have a word to describe that.
okay, yeah. So
in the stands, like Sorry, go ahead, Wally.
No, yeah, you're right. They were smoking darts in the stand still. I actually, yeah, I remember it because I grew up in Ontario where they changed the laws and nobody's smoking in restaurants. Then I moved to Michigan where they finally changed the law when I'm in university and I go there and they're still smoking. Then I go to Ohio and they're still smoking in places. And like we go to the arena and there's people smoking in the arena. I guess that's my first game in the coast is we're playing in that arena. The glass is so short that like the fans can reach Lane Manson. He's fighting at center ice. It's just an absolute circus, and there's people smoking. You got to walk through the fans to get to the locker room. It was like, where the hell am I?
And the benches were so small that they had like extra chairs on the end of the benches. So like if you were at like, getting benched, or if you just were a duster or a grocery stick, that was where you sat. You let the important players play, and I was an important player for one shift, and I went out there and did a sauce up the middle, pizza, and they scored right away. First game pro, and I remember coming back to the bench, and Clance, as much as I just praised him, he just looked at me and he said, "Hendo, you see that chair down at the end?" I said, "Yep." And he said, "Oh, better go sit down and make yourself comfortable because you're not leaving there the rest of the game." And my first game pro, I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, geez, nice to meet you too. So I went down, sat down like a good little player, and this local Toledo guy, I don't know who he was, probably had one tooth in his mouth, literally sitting shoulder to shoulder with me. I'm sitting on this like little wooden chair that probably will collapse if I do anything on it. And I looked to my right and he sat there, he's got a beer in each hand. And he just kind of looks at me while I look at him and he says, "You want a beer?" And I was like, kind of, but I could feel Derek Clancy just burning a hole in the back of my head, and I could see him watching the whole thing. And I was like, "Well, I'm not moving here, but we can be friends." But 2 seconds later, he lit up a dart and he was just smoking away. And I was like, "What is this? Is this pro hockey? Is this what I just signed a contract for? Like, where am I and what's happening?"
Oh man. Yeah, no, so you said it was a pizza up the middle because I could have sworn it was you trying to kill a guy in open ice and he got around you.
You know what? It very well could have been that.
Because I remember that's what he like because he was so stay in front of him, stick on puck. Like you don't have to kill guys, you just play good defense with your sticks and your body positioning. And you had been trained in Peterborough, like when a guy's coming through center ice, you would try and kill them. And right?
Well, no, like like you have to think back to like that era of hockey, and that
Uh-huh.
the can opener was a legal, legit move. So like that was my move. If you came over the blue line, I stuck my stick between your legs and I pushed you over my stick, and that was fine. There was no penalty for that.
But our first year pro, it's over, right? Because it's the year after the lockout. That's when things start changing, right?
Yeah, but that was a big thing with Clancy and I. Was Clancy wanted us to challenge the offensive players at our blue line. So he would tell me to like go straight at that player with the puck. And like to me, that just was so backwards because I was taught not to go forward when they're going forward as well. So I had to like work on that for a long time. So it might have seemed like I was trying to kill them, but I was really doing what he told me to do.
Now, no, I get it because I played with another coach, Dan Seaman, who he preached that was if the wingers are getting back in time and they are full backtracking, the D man can step up and try and kill because that's at least gonna get them either way. And if the winger's there beside them, like you're fine, right? Okay. Anyways, but yeah, Derek Clancy, the way he taught defense, the way he taught that team, like you as a rookie, me as a rookie, like for me, there's no way I last as long as I do. And I learned defense in one hockey season. I had never been taught because I guess realistically, college, it was what it was. But like when you're a kid, you don't really have to play defense if you're good, right?
Yeah, well, especially if you're a forward too. Like I remember we talked about this before, and like you said, that was kind of when you first learned how to play defense. But
I had never heard a stick on puck before.
like for me, I had learned defense because I was a defenseman, so I kind of understood it a bit more than you. But like Clancy just kind of put it in a way that everybody kind of understood.
I remember the one, it was one of my first practices in Dayton, actually, when I was really getting to see what it was like. But when we did a defensive zone, this was one of our first practices of the year. He brought out a spray cans, different colors. You remember this? Were you there for that?
Yeah, he just spray painted zones, right?
He had where the right winger goes. This is your area. Where the left winger goes. Right D, left D, center. You're supporting this. If you know this, these are your areas, folks. And it was so simple. I was like, really? That's all I gotta do? Just this? And if it goes over there, I'm over here, and I'm over there. It's over there. Stick on puck. Oh, geez, that's not that hard, really.
I know. Simple.
Okay, so moving on. So Toledo, we did discuss that arena was just an absolute gong show, and I hear they have a really nice one now. So okay, next two topics you can pick from: Paul Kelly or Tommy Gunn.
Well, I'm gonna go Paul Kelly because Tommy Gunn lived on your block and he was more your guy.
Yeah, so folks, Justin Miser, episode 28, talked about Tommy Gunn. He lived on my side of Daytona Beach. Hendo lived at the other end of the beach in Ohio. He was right by the practice rink, whatever that was called, but we were about 10 minutes away. So Hendo and I really never got to see each other as often as we liked as rookies, but we did in Cardiff because we lived near each other. But Tommy Gunn was my neighborhood, right? So let's go with Paul Kelly, who's your neighborhood, because he was not in mine.
Paul, he was a special guy. He kind of took me under his wing when I first came there, and you know, he lived around the corner from me, and he was I don't know, he was just a social guy, and you know, he was, you know, very funny guy. He's from Boston. He had a big, strong Boston accent, and you know, I haven't spoke to him in quite a few years, but I remember like we had our rookie party, and you know, he was kind of I looked at him as kind of like my not my way in, but like he kind of gave me a bit of inside information with the bets because he had been there for a few years. And our rookie party, we had to dress up. Well, do you remember that, Wally? We had to dress up as girls, right?
Yep. No, I did too. Yep. I look good.
Yeah. Well, you say that, but yeah, we dressed up in dresses and girls and makeup, all this crazy shit. And I remember Kells, he came into me and he's like, you guys are going to do impressions. You guys got to do impressions of people. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do? And he was like, do an impression of our captain, our captain was
Binsky, Labber.
So like they'd put us all in like one room. Like we were at somebody's apartment, and like it was a 2-bedroom apartment. Like, you know, there wasn't very much place for us to go. We were all just kind of packed in there and dressed as women. Really kind of weird now that I talk about it, but you know, we had our rosy cheeks and makeup on, and like, you know, somehow Kells popped in. He's like, Hendo, you gotta do Labby. You gotta do Labby. And I was like, all right. And I don't know what I was gonna do before that, but like, he was like, you gotta do Labby. You gotta do Labby. So I came out and like, I didn't have a clue how I was gonna impersonate him, but like Labby was like always like really angry and yelling at us all the time. And like,
he was serious.
Yeah, just like, you know,
he was a real pro.
Yeah, no, he was, but he was like always snapping on us. So like, well, I looked at him and I tried to think of like how I could impersonate him. That's what he used to always do. So I I came in the room dressed as a woman, nice little mini skirt on, rosy cheeks, and I just started screaming at our 10 veterans that were in there who were probably 10 years older than me, and just screaming at them, and probably did the worst impression of Labby ever. But Kells told me that that's what I should do. And I thought, well, if I do that, you know, I won't have to do shots or whatever the hell they're going to make me do. And I did that. And then as soon as I finished, like nobody was really laughing. It was just kind of awkward. And I was like, oh, I guess that wasn't very funny. And then they just kind of lined up a few shots for me, and that was it. But it was, I don't know. I don't know what you had to do, Wally. I'm sure you were probably a lot funnier.
I'm actually trying to think. I don't even recall how. I remember it would depended on how well you did, how much you had to drink.
Yeah.
But I actually don't recall what I did. I do recall dressed as a woman singing karaoke at that Doom Ball in Daytona Beach.
Adobe Gilas.
Yeah, Adobe Gilas. I was dressed as a woman, and I believe I swung the microphone around because I was feeling it and hit someone in the head with the microphone. Yeah, dressed as a woman, but no, yeah, that was a fun night. That was our rookie party. But do you remember, like, back when we were young, when it was your rookie party, like, you were nervous, like really nervous of what was gonna happen, or maybe you weren't. I was.
I was super nervous. That's why, like, when Kels told me what to do, I was like, oh, thank God. Like,
See, I feel like he told you something that, like, I don't even recall doing anything like that. So I feel like he got you to do that as a joke, because I just remember doing something else to figure out if I had to do a lot of shots or not, but I don't recall impersonating anybody. But Paul Kelly he was fun, man. He was a fun guy to have around. Like, in practice, I just remember his farts.
oh my God, he was probably one of the stinkiest players I ever played with.
Oh, yeah, it was nuts. But we did almost win it, eh? Like, we almost took down the whole thing.
I know, like that team. That team was very similar to our Cardiff team here. Like, it was just a bunch of, like, you know,
You're right.
scraps, you would say, and like we just, you come together, and that's almost more powerful than anything when you have a group that just comes together. But like, I know we were trucking, and we were absolutely trucking, and we played that that Idaho team, and we won the first game in Idaho.
And then we thought we had it, and
We thought we were just the
yeah,
king of the universe, and
we just couldn't believe it. We were like, we're the Daytona Beach Bombers, and like, we're actually gonna do it. And then
beat
they,
teams to the playoffs and take their sticks because our owner doesn't pay the bills. Like, that's what we were.
yeah, we did make it to the finals without sticks for some of the players, folks. We were playing with broken sticks in the finals of the East Coast. That is what the minor pros were like. I'm assuming they're basically all owned by NHL teams now, so they probably even get sticks. Who knows? Okay, I guess we better move on, eh?
What else you got?
Really? Like, there's still a lot, man. I think we've been going a long time, but here we go. So you go to Elmira for a year, USA, folks, not my hometown. But then, curious, because I think you might be, of at least the first time we're going to talk about it, is the home of Slapshot, the Johnstown Chiefs. You're there for 2 years.
Oh boy, was I ever? Yeah, that was.
Isn't it interesting how different this pod is than episode 4 that never happened?
Much better. I'm enjoying this much more.
Really? I think you just forget how much fun the other one was too, because we talked about a lot of different stuff. But go ahead. So, Johnstown Chiefs. Think about how many times we can do this.
Kind of blocked that out because it was really fun, but you erased it. So
Yeah, I know. Go ahead.
That was my second year pro, and I had no choice as to where I went because I was under contract with Columbus. So they basically dictated where I went. So the first year I went to Elmira, and then the second year they changed their affiliation to Johnstown. And when I went there, I was like, oh, this is super cool. This is the Johnstown Chiefs. This is where Slapshot was filmed. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I can't wait to go there. And then I got there, and it was like literally an atom just dropped in the middle of America and made a little hole and then put a hockey team there. Like, it was the smallest town. It was just the most blue collar place you could ever imagine. So they just love fights. They love hitting, which was great for me. I love doing that. But we basically lived we lived Slapshot for 2 years there, and it was fun my first year because we were actually really good, and we had lots of fans, and like the Hanson brothers would come at Christmas time and do like a show. It was cool. But then the second year I went back there, like, we sucked. Like, we were bad. Like, we were horrible.
Oh man, life sucks when you lose it. Not and then it's your job.
And we had a good team. I don't know, we just couldn't put it together. There was actually something going on with the team, and they were looking to move to a different place. And the owner of our team was a guy named Neil Smith, and he was the general manager of the New York Rangers when they won their Stanley Cups. And I think he had bought the team just kind of as a kind of hobby thing. So anyway, that season they got a new coach, and the coach, he was a great guy. He just couldn't get anything out of us, and they fired him at Christmas time. And then Neil, Neil was such a great guy. He was awesome. He would fly in from New York City for like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday to come in, coach us for the weekend, and then fly off. So like during the week, we were kind of on our own, and it was just kind of a gong show, really. And
You
we
know what? Can I interrupt? Because I just had a flashback. Do you know what I'm gonna say?
no, but like if you're gonna go out on a far tangent, just wait because I got
Okay, keep going.
okay. So we sucked. So about 3/4 of the way through the season, Neil came in and he was like, "Listen, guys, like we suck, but keep kind of keep working hard because we're moving to Greenville, South Carolina next year, and we're gonna bring the guys with us that we like." And it was kind of like a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. So like kind of lifted our spirits a bit. But there was this place that was literally right, maybe a block from the rink called Scott's by Dam. And it sounds weird, but that's what it was called, Scott's by Dam. And we would go there after every game. And this guy was a sponsor, and like probably 95% of his business came from people coming to the games. And they told us after this game that we were moving, and that night they put it on the news. So our whole team would go to his bar after the game, and we'd sit there, and like he'd always play the highlights of the game, and it was like a big social thing, and like he'd give us food, and we were sitting there, and then the news comes on, and we're all kind of sitting there like, well, we kind of know what's coming on now. And this guy, meanwhile, he's got like every piece of memorabilia of the Johnstown Chiefs on his wall in his bar. So the news comes on and they announce that the Chiefs are moving to Greenville, South Carolina. And this guy just loses his mind, gets up, kicks us out, rips every piece of Johnstown Chiefs memorabilia off the wall, like rips the jerseys off, has a whole tantrum. And we're kind of sitting there like, geez, this is awkward. But it was like that was his livelihood. Like I felt bad for him. But we all just left, and that was like I got traded the next day, so that was kind of my last experience in Johnstown. But yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. So, oh, that's brutal for that guy because he would have made his livelihood and his life off of that place and that team. And then they just up and leave. It is just like Slapshot, right? They were moving in back then. Wow, that's brutal. What I was going to bring up is doesn't matter. So that's crazy. So you got traded then, like traded from, are you still with Columbus, Syracuse at that point? Or
No, so I was on my own at that point. So I'd actually spoke to Neil and I said, I'd like to have a trade and go somewhere to win a championship. So he said, I got two options. One of them is Elmira, where I used to play with my old coach. And the second option was Charlotte, North Carolina. So I chose Charlotte because they had a good team and it was somewhere new. And he was awesome about it. There was no hard feelings. He completely understood. He traded me the next day and wished me well.
and that's so Johnstown did leave then, and that's what Greenville is like
That's where Lordo is now.
the Swamp Rabbits. That was the Johnstown Chiefs. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. Something different there for a while. They were Greenville's something else, but anyway.
Okay. Well, you know what? There's a lot of stuff we're skipping this time because you're a repeat podder, even if you're hard to schedule with. Because I just love you so much, and I'm gonna pod with you even if you're difficult. So
Are you really gonna blame me for this, Wally?
no, I'm not. So it was my fault. I deleted the first one. Okay, moving on. 2010-11. You only played 4 games for the Florida Everblades. Random question for the pod. Do you know what the Lonnie Kai is?
I sure do, and I was there with Bobby Raymond.
Really?
Yeah, he was on my team.
You were there when he met his wife?
I don't know if I was there when I met his wife, but I was there. But
It was his rookie party, but yeah, Lonnie Kai, quite the spot, eh?
I was I was in a different state there because like you said, I played 4 games, and I think it was our 4th game we played in Greenville actually, and I fought a guy named TJ Reynolds. I don't know if you know him.
I've
Um,
heard the name, but I don't know him.
he's a mutant. He's beauty. But I played with him in Charlotte, and I kind of joked with him like I said, well, if I ever played you, I'd beat the wheels off you, and he was like, oh, I'd beat the wheels off you. And then, funny enough, we played each other for an exhibition game, or I think 4 games into the season, sorry. And we lined up beside each other, and he was like, "Oh, you want to go?" And I was like, "All right, let's go." So we fought, and then during the fight, it was a good fight. It was pretty even, but I tore my labrum in my shoulder.
In a preseason game, fighting your buddy.
I don't know if it was a preseason game. I think it was like, I say preseason, but I mean like I think it was like the 3rd or 4th game of the year, so like kind of preseason, really, right? Those first few games aren't really real. But anyway, so we fought. I just couldn't lift my arm. It was messed up. So I went to the doctor, and they were like, yeah, basically you have to have a surgery, or you can play the whole season with the pain and then have a surgery. So either way, I was having a surgery. So I spoke to the owner, and they were like, yeah, you might as well just do it now, and then at least we can maybe get you back for the season. So I had the surgery, had a cast from like my shoulder down to my wrist for like, I don't know, 8-9 weeks at least. And then as soon as I came back, I got tripped in practice, and I landed on my arm and bent my elbow in. So I broke my elbow, same arm. So that was pretty much my season. So I was done. So I was there. I was there the whole time, but I just couldn't really do very much.
So you lived in Florida and then didn't really play that whole year, eh?
I couldn't even golf or anything. I had a cast.
So then you definitely hit the Lonnie Kai a couple times.
Yeah, been there, done that. That's a good place.
I know. I've been in contact with them, Hendo, after Bobby Raymond said he met his wife there, and we've been shooting the breeze and just chit chatting. And I was like, you know what? I do turn 40 in a couple years, and maybe there needs to be some kind of pod from the beach with a hockey beauty convention at the Lonnie Kai for my 40th. You know, it's just an idea. We just been discussing it. There's just this nothing major. Well, just talking, bouncing ideas off each other.
Like a Lonnie Kai reunion.
Like on my 40th birthday, whoever wants to come, whoever.
I mean, I wouldn't hate it.
I think there's a few guys that might come. I would enjoy it. I think I'd have a great time. And speaking of that, is the Bayfield Brewing Company is always my sponsor, folks. And I've been drinking the cabinet maker this episode, and it's fantastic. But we got to move on because you did win 2 times in the Cocktail Hockey League. So I know you did some bouncing around through the years till you got to Allen. But we've been doing this long enough. I think it's time we get to winning 2 times in the Cocktail Hockey League.
Yeah, so it actually kind of ties into the Florida thing because like I said, I only played 4 games. So at the end of that season,
did they win? He won there, didn't he? Bobby Raymond?
Yeah, that was a few years later.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
After. But yeah, like I left there, and at that point I was an NHL draft pick, come out of contract. Like I was, if I had played the whole year, it would have been great for me, but I didn't. So I literally had no options, nothing. Whole summer went past. I didn't have like one offer from any team. And then I think late August came, and at that point I think I was like 24, 25, and I kind of started planning for something else outside of hockey. Had some jobs lined up, and then I got a contract offer from the All Americans, and I didn't know who they were really. But I did some research, and they were like one of the best teams in that league, and they gave me a really nice contract, and I thought, well, that's all I got, so I might as well do it. So I went there, and it probably took me like, I don't know, probably at least 3-4 months to kind of get back to normal. Even though I trained all summer, it just taking a year off hockey, it takes a lot to get back. So about Christmas time, I kind of started to hit my stride, and I did really well. I got called up to Hamilton, which was Montreal's farm team. Played some games there, and then the following season, we actually won. I went back and we won the championship, which was cool. But then the following year, or sorry, the first time we won was really cool because it was Game 7 overtime in our own rink, and we were playing our biggest rival, which was Wichita, and we absolutely hated them like with a passion, like absolutely like couldn't even look at them. And they went up like 2-0 going to the third. They were really cocky about it. They would like score, like when they scored their goals, they'd skate by our bench and kind of,
I know the type.
Yeah, you know the type, right?
Yeah, I do.
And
I would hate them too.
Yeah, and we just thought, you know what? We had a sold out rink, Game 7. Like this is what you dream of as a kid, right? And my roommate went out, and it was his first shift, and like somebody threw the puck on net. There's a rebound. He popped it in, so it was 2-1. So we got a chance, right? So we played hard the whole period. Nothing really came. And then I scored. I just threw the puck on the net and scored with like a minute and a half left. So we tied it up, and the place went absolutely bonkers. Probably one of the biggest goals I ever scored in my life.
So you scored with a minute and a half left in Game 7 to tie it?
Yeah, tie it. So score that goal. Like I said, probably one of the coolest moments.
Don't get handsy on us.
I'm just adjusting so you can see me. Yeah, and then we go in for, they didn't score. We kept them off, so it was 2-2. Zamboni comes out. We get like 15 minutes in the room. We come back out, and like, the whole momentum is just completely switched. And, we got 5,000 fans cheering for us. I think 3 minutes in, defenseman makes a nice pass up to Todd Robinson. He walks in, takes a slap shot, low blocker, scores. Place goes nuts. Everybody just absolutely goes mental. And like, we won.
At home, Game 7.
Like there's nothing in any sport better than that. And it was.
And you tied it up with a minute and a half left, and then you went in overtime. How deep into overtime was it?
3 minutes, maybe. It was
quick. Yeah, they would have been so mentally effed after those 2 goals in the third that you guys just went out there and finished her. Eh? Yeah. That's really cool. So then what happens in Allen after a championship?
Well, we came in the dressing room, and the whole dressing room was taped down with plastic. So all of our stalls, the whole room, it was just like a murder scene. It was just plastic everywhere, like plastic. There was no chance of there being a mess. So we just champagne bottles, drinks, everything. All of our family, all of our friends came in. It was such a cool experience, and just, the emotion of a Game 7 just really played into the whole night. Like the following year, we won the championship again, but I think we swept the team, or we won in 5 games. So like, it wasn't
the same.
It was still cool. We won, but like coming off of the Game 7, it's just different, right? So it wasn't the same level, but it was still, not very many people get to win championships. So it was still really cool. But
so then you'd won in Peterborough, and you won twice there.
Yeah, so I won 3. So I got 3 rings.
Nobody gave me rings other than Junior B. I got a gold helmet. I got medals, but like, that's it. I don't have a ring other than Junior B.
I don't know. I think it's kind of more of a North American thing.
Yeah, it definitely is. There's no rings over there usually, but that's pretty cool that you have all those rings. But moving on is, you do go from the Allen Americans in 2 championships to then reconnecting with your long lost enforcer. Because I did protect you a couple times there where you'd done things that you shouldn't have, and you just need a friend to come help you out, right?
It doesn't sound like me at all, Wally.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to ask you then, is one of my questions, which I know we talked about this the first time, and I'm going to do it again, even though it's not really part of the show anymore, just because I remember going to the depot in Cardiff, which is an awesome spot. But we went there, and you were going to fight we went for food or something, and you were gonna fight someone the next night. It was the guy from Belfast or something. Or we had talked about it. I forget what his name was. He looked like a mutant, and you were like, "Well, we're gonna do this tomorrow," and we just had like a chat about like you're fighting him the next day, and we were talking about it, and I like it's just a weird dynamic that you're gonna fight a mutant the next day.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Fighting is such a interesting topic to talk about with people because most people just don't understand like how simple it can be in hockey. Like, um, not so much anymore, but like when we played, there was always a couple guys who they were the enforcers. That's what they did, and much earlier, like you would have three or four of those guys in your team that could barely skate. They were just there to just beat people up. And I was never one of those people. I was a good hockey player, and I would fight, if I had to, and if my NHL team that had picked me would ask me to. But yeah, there's so much that people don't really know that goes into it. Like people just go to a game and they want to have a beer and watch a fight, and it's all great, but nobody really knows what comes in behind it. And it doesn't matter if you're the best fighter in the league or the worst fighter in the league. Like they all have some anxiety, and if you don't have anxiety, if you're not thinking about the other guy, you're not a good fighter, and you're going to probably lose. You have to be prepared, and whether I was going to fight somebody or not, I would always do my homework, and I would maybe watch their fights on YouTube and kind of have a game plan. And it's a tough job. It's not an easy job. That's why not too many people do it. But like personally, like I would sometimes be in my own little world. Like Lordo might be giving a speech to us before the game and talking about our systems, and I'd be in my own little world thinking about, okay, well, how am I going to fight Matt Nickerson, or how am I going to fight Cam Jansen? What am I going to do? Am I going to attack him? Am I going to defend myself? And I wouldn't even listen to the speech. I'd be in my own little world.
You'd have a whole different battle ahead of you compared to like just playing the game. Like when it happens just organically and like two guys just start fighting, that's totally different than like when it's gonna happen. Like, and I don't know that feeling. I don't.
Well, that's the thing is, I'm still playing the game just like you, and everybody else. Like I'm still playing the game.
And you're wondering when that's gonna happen on the side of that. And like I'm just thinking about playing, and you're thinking about, right, like when is this happening? Is it the start of my shift? It's the end of my shift. Am I tired? Is he waiting for me to be at the end of my shift to come at me? Right.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. There's just so many things that you think about, and it's mentally draining. Like the day of a game, I would try to have a nap because I needed to have a nap, but you know I would just have things playing in my head over and over, different scenarios, different things about the game, about a fight, about anything, and it's just tough to switch that off, and it's something that I don't think people really think about. But
Well, yeah, there's a lot that the fans don't get about the whole thing of fighting for sure. And I even didn't even get it, especially being in Germany most of the time. Like when we went back to the UK, that was back when I was around fighting again. And like I remember the start of that season when like we're talking about now we're in Cardiff together. Like we went for a preseason game in Belfast. And I remember like the pre-game speech from Lordo was like, these guys were the cream of the crop. Like if we want to show the league what we're about now, like this is a big game for us. And that preseason game turned into like who, you know, who's the biggest brother at? Like we all, everybody was fighting, right?
I know, I mean, that was like a war, and it was
It was a
weird.
preseason game.
I know, and like I actually have a funny story about that. So I think I actually fought Adam Keefe that game, um, and it was a good fight. I wouldn't say anybody really beat anybody up. It was a pretty even fight. But Dougie Clarkson was good friends with Kiefer, and I think it was the second game of the weekend, and after that game, we all went out for some beers after, and it just so happened that like Kiefer showed up and he was hanging out with Dougie at the bar, and like I knew Kiefer from back in the OHL, and we'd fought a few times, but I never actually spoke to him. And I saw him there, and I thought, oh, I'll go, you know, kind of go say hi to him and say good fight, just as most guys would do. And so I walked up and I was like, oh, hey, Kiefer, and I was talking to him, and I had just bought a bag of chips or crisps, as you would say over here. And as I was talking to him, I guess a little tiny piece of chip kind of flew off my tongue. And it literally landed right on his tongue, like landed on his tongue. And he noticed it. And, and it was such a ridiculous moment in time because he knew it happened. I knew it, but it was
Is
so.
this in the Big Blue Tent lobby?
No, this was at, no, what was that?
The Odyssey Arena or whatever it's called. So you're saying this is in Belfast this happened?
No, this was at what's that Irish bar called in Cardiff that we went? O'Neill's. That's where it was.
Oh, okay. Oh, this is back. Oh, there. Back after a game, you're in O'Neill's.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I thought that was the same as what you were talking about. But yeah, so he was standing there, and he like I could actually. It's like that episode of Seinfeld with like the magic loogie. I literally like I could see it leave my mouth. I didn't do it on purpose, obviously, but it left my mouth and went up, and it landed right on his tongue, and he saw it. And it was like the most awkward 10 seconds of my life because I just started laughing.
You just fought him?
And no, we didn't fight. And Dougie started laughing, I think.
No, I'm talking about during the game, you doggy.
Oh,
You
yeah.
just fought during the game. You went up to say good job fighting, and then you spat in his mouth.
By accident. And then like Dougie laughed a little bit, and then Kiefer I think was like a bit like annoyed and pissed off. So like I just kind of laughed and walked away. But like you couldn't have like planned it any funnier. It was just hilarious.
You know what? That O'Neill's place, the start of that season, I think really brought our team together. Like that place after those preseason games where the whole team would show up. And I was like, wow, where am I? Like the whole team's here. Like this is not like Germany where like the four guys that want to hang out here go there, and everybody was together. And like, and then the other team would come in and it would be like, hey guys, how are you?
We start spitting chips in each other's mouth. It was weird.
It's like a rugby match over there. Okay. Or I guess where you are now, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess it's a pretty easy story for today, but I was gonna ask about a Deeser Carl story, but I guess when I tried to do this with you, and I'm on, I'm a busy guy, and you were sitting with Dees having a beer when it was puck drop time, eh?
Well, I can actually check both those boxes with one story. Dees and Carl. So this story, I think Dees, yeah, I think Dees might have told the first part of the story. I'm not sure if Carl has told the story.
Carl's only been on with Pigs. He hasn't got the full deal yet.
Okay, so he hasn't told the story then.
No.
Okay, so Dees told the story about how we had a Christmas party and me and Carl and Hoff and Dees were playing hockey in the room.
I think it was a Cabina Fest. Or no, you're right. It was Secret Santa Day.
Yeah, it was our Christmas party in like January, wherever it was. And so basically people have heard that first part of the story. So like me and Carl, I think we're dressed in goalie equipment, and we went in to see Lordo, and he was getting a massage, and he jumped up and went absolutely bonkers on us and kicked us out of the rink. So we left, and the funny part is that like Carl was really like, he was just really worried that we were getting fired for some reason. We weren't. He was just mad at us for that day. So Carl went home, and like me and Hoth went to KFC, and we were sitting there, and I think it was, I don't know, I think it was my idea, but it might have been both of ours. But I just thought Carl's really worried about this. Like we should probably mess with him a little bit. So we decided, and we kind of concocted this plan to just kind of push the envelope a little bit. So I messaged him, and I was like, Carl, I just got a message from Lordo, and he's not very happy. Like I think we're all getting fired tomorrow. Um, and he kind of took it hook, line, and sinker. And I think like they packed their stuff up that night, and like they were ready to get fired the next day. And poor Carl like showed up the next day, and he was like really pissed off at me. I could tell he wouldn't even speak to me, and I was like, Carl, I was just kidding. What, you were just kidding? And he was like, he went on this whole thing about like
It's like when you own 2.3% of the Devils and you don't actually.
exactly like that.
It's just like that. Yeah, I get it. And you know what, Carl? It hurts, buddy. It hurts.
So the funniest part of that story was what Carl did after that. So he he had packed up his whole apartment. He thought he was leaving the next day, and then when I told him we were joking, he laughed, but he was not very happy with things. And I remember like when we first moved into our flat, like Carl would come over, and like sometimes like not sometimes one time we saw him, we opened up our curtains, and he was sat on the curb outside of our place, and he was sat there on the computer. And like I remember me and Hoffman out there were like, Carl, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm using your Wi-Fi. And like it was just so funny because like that was just Carl. It was just like he's just such a beauty.
He's sitting out on your curb on the Wi-Fi instead of like saying if you could come in.
Yeah, and like he didn't like tell us. Like he could have told us, and we were like, yeah, fine, come on in, or like come say hi. But the same day, I think we had caught him in the act, because he actually came over as a rebuttal for our prank, and he took all the air out of our front tire. So like the next day we got in to get in the car to go to the rink or something, and Hoff was driving, and the he just he just heard like clunk clunk clunk, and like we had no air in the tire, and like we literally got like maybe 100 feet out of our flat, and that was it. And I think we had to take a taxi to the rink or something, but like we ended up like going to like the dealership and saying like, oh, we got a flat tire, can you fix it? And they fixed it, we paid for it and everything. And then like maybe 2 or 3 months later, Carl finally came out, and he was like, ha, got you guys. And we were like, Carl, that happened like 3 months ago. Like what what are you talking about? But like we said to him, like, Carl, you could have killed us. Like you could have died. But like it was just, yeah, it was funny. But that,
Oh man, like literally Carl would come over and then I lived next by with the kids and you and Hoth were there. Like it was an awesome time, man. That year we all lived by each other, and like
mm,
Carl and Hoth and you, and like it was a fun time, eh?
the George brothers would come over all the time.
Oh man. And then when they dressed like Happy Gilmore, remember that Halloween outfit?
Well, they were the first. Those George brothers, like we need to talk about them because they're absolutely awesome dudes. Like when I
I need
first,
to have them on. Like I need to have them on soon. Realistically, they should have been on during trying to be number one in the UK because they're the best.
yeah, they when I first came over here, I think the first day we were here, we had a golf tournament, and I was paired up with them, and like I don't think I've ever got on with a group of guys ever in my life like that. Like they were just like, I think we all looked a bit similar too, so we were like kind of three brothers, right? Like I don't know if you saw that picture, but yeah, you gotta get them on,
Oh, I
Wally.
remember that picture. If you could send it to me, I'll post it with, like, because they were the best people. They're the funniest people. They're the funniest brothers I've ever met. Like, they're the best. The way they made us all feel at home that first golf tournament when you were in their group, and I could tell how much fun you were having at the end of your round. And I had played around and then I saw what you guys were doing, and I was like, how do I get to be a part of that?
Yeah, they're just, yeah, they're honestly, I see them all the time here now, and like they're good friends of mine still, and like they're just awesome dudes. You gotta have them on, Wally.
I know. You're right. Pressure's on. Like it is time. Like they're the best. They really are. They are a lot of the Cardiff Devils. I'd like, are they still around the team like they used to be or no?
I mean, I would assume so, but there's been no team for like 2 years.
I guess that's right. Yeah. Um, okay. So I don't think I have anything else for this episode because you are a repeat podder. But I don't know which. Okay, I'm gonna give you the option here. I'm gonna give you the option.
Okay.
We're after Cardiff. I got about 10 minutes until I gotta be a dad again. So do you want to talk about leaving Cardiff and going to Glasgow and fighting Lordo, or do you want to go to the Ice Hockey Club Hartzer Falcons and whatever you don't talk about, we'll just talk about next time?
I'm gonna go to the Harzer Falcons because
It's a positive thing, and let's go. Let's do it.
the other one we can save for a different podcast because that could be a long one.
Okay, fair enough. Let's go to the Harzer Falcons and the shootout.
Shootout. Oh, you're being specific.
Well, no, I'm saying just tell me about your year there and how it all ends. That's your last year of hockey, and then I think we'll shut her down. Because you're a repeat Potter, you got too much, and sorry.
I think we've done pretty well, really. Yeah, that was so before that season, I had decided to myself that this was going to be my last year of hockey, and for whatever reason, I really wanted to play in Italy, and I wanted to play in the Alps League because I just thought it'd be great to play some hockey and ski and kind of have some fun my last year. So that was kind of what my focus was, and I don't know. I found out that they like to sign their players later than most leagues, so they would sign their players in August. So I kind of turned down a lot of offers to go and hopefully have an opportunity there. And then August came and I didn't get anything. So I had nothing and I had no plan B. So I was at home and wasn't really sure what I was going to do. And then all of a sudden this offer came through from Germany. And it was probably October and it was right around Thanksgiving time. And it was a pretty decent offer, but it was in the third league there. And I just thought, well, whatever. I wanted to play hockey. I know I'm not playing next year, so this will be my last year. I'll go see a different country. So I went there, and the people I met there were some of the best people I've ever met, and I still speak to them. They're just, I'm sure Wally, like Germany's just a great country. I really enjoyed it there. It's just such a great group of people, and just a great place. I really liked it there.
It really is a great atmosphere. You get the music playing. You got no, it is. So what's the season like? And then what's your last? Yeah, so, give me the season to your last game of professional hockey.
So my team was, we weren't a very good team. We it was a small town. They tried their best, but we were not a very good team, which was fine. Like a lot of kids on the team, like they had 9 to 5 jobs during the week, and they'd come and train after, and that was whatever. That's just how it was. So it was a bit of a struggle to compete with like the top teams, but we did okay, and I enjoyed my year. It was great. But then towards the end of the season, we one of our last games was against I think we were like second last place, and the team that we were playing was the team below us. So that was our time to shine. Like that was the only game we were going to win. So we played that team at home, and I honestly had probably one of the best games of my career. Like I think I scored 2 goals, like absolute snipes, like top cheese, like perfect goals, and had a nice assist. We went to overtime. We won in a shootout in overtime in our own rink. And these people were going absolutely bonkers, like we had won the Stanley Cup. And it was probably our second win of the whole season. So it was just like, it was our Stanley Cup. And we went to a shootout, and I think that the score was like 6-6 or something. And, we could only have 2 imports. So our other import was I was one, the other guy was a Swedish guy. And he just kind of always did these ridiculous moves that like he would never do. And our coach puts him up, and like if he scores, we win. So he's coming down the shootout, and he does the Patrick Kane Superman, like to a T, like perfect. Like he slides the puck off his stick and then hits it in with his hand, and hits it off his hand and the stick. And the referees just had never seen that before. They were like,
"Don't you throw your glove?"
No, So the puck's in front of
Oh,
him.
you pretend like you fall, push
Yeah,
it with your right arm to your left stick, and then knock it in.
yeah. So you push with your hand and it hits off your stick. If you just YouTube Patrick Kane's Superman, you'll see it. But so he did that exact move and he scored. And it was sick. And we all watched it. And like as hockey players, we knew what that move was. But the fans were like perplexed. And the referee didn't know if he should call it a goal or not. And he did call it a goal. And the other team went absolutely nuts. And meanwhile, this is like the two worst teams in the league having like a playoff game 7 type thing. And he scored. And it was like we won the Stanley Cup. And I just couldn't not imagine like having a better last game in my career. So like to be able to go out on that kind of a note was very special because not many people get to do that. So I was very lucky.
No, man, that sounds like the coolest shootout I've ever heard of. A guy doing that in a real game is that's strange, but that it actually worked out. Like, what would happen if that guy does that move and then just like face plants into the goalie? And you're like, well, that was weird. But that stuff happens in Europe. I've seen it. And like it's taken months. It's what? I've been a busy guy. You've been a busy guy. You're running hockey schools. You got a young kid. I got two, and I have to do stuff now. And if anybody needs a heavy spray from Lakeside Organic Glow, just remember Wally 15. But I got to have the kids here soon, and it's dinner time, and it's a busy time in our lives, and I hate to do this because it took me this long to have you on because you were so upset with me last time.
Well, Wally, sometimes you gotta have some bigger bait to land the big fish, right?
Well, I know you always thought you were the big fish, and like, I had to protect you a lot because of all the shit you do out there. And I'm just glad I could protect you, that your head's not messed up after all these years because of these bricks over here. But everybody's got their role, and I was there for you, and I'm glad I was. It made playing hockey, I'm sure, easier for you, right?
Well, I mean, I know that I don't have to deal with Kevin Noble anymore because you sorted him out. So, I mean,
Well, yeah, and you remember my time in Daytona Beach, man. I was upset about being down there. I was knocking guys out.
grumpy little elf.
Ah, man, this has been so much fun, man. Like, I wish we could do it longer, but guess what? We don't have to do these for 3 hours because we just do them again.
Yep, sounds good, buddy.
Okay, buddy. Thank you so much for coming on. And sorry we couldn't go for 5 hours because I really wanted to. And this has been another episode of Two Ales and Hockey Tales.